Elric, reporter, podcaster.
Searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have. Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation interacts with his unique body chemistry. And now when
ML Elric
grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs. Is driven by rage and pursued by an sports columnist.
Sean Windsor.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You asked interrogative questions
out of my face. Gone.
What are you doing? That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay, you want to go right now, Albert?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric sitting here watching the temperature get higher and my blood pressure along with it. It is a great show. We have a lot to talk about. We know you want to talk about Kwame Kilpatrick, so we're going to get to that. If you have some questions you want to post to us in our Facebook Live discussion, we will try and get the best ones on the air. If there are some good ones or some ones that we haven't heard 100 times already, no, there was no Manoogian Mansion party, and no, we're not going to tell you who gave us the text messages, and we're pretty sure he's getting out, but we can't say that for sure either. So hopefully that covers the big ones. I'm also going to talk a little bit about an anniversary that Facebook reminded me I had 6 years ago. But before we get to the gang here, I want to give you a little Incredible Hulk trivia. The guy who does the voiceover at the beginning of The Incredible Hulk is also the guy who played Sasquatch in The Bionic Man. So wow. Just a little bit of, and they actually considered Jaws from Moonraker as the Hulk before they settled on Lou Ferrigno. He had the height, but he didn't quite have the girth, which is something that people say about Sean. But,
what was it? Bionic Man? Bionic Woman or $6 Million Man?
Sorry, $6 Million Man, but he was bionic.
Well, you're thinking of yourself when you say Bionic Man.
Yes, I can lift a car engine with my appendages. Yeah. It comes in handy when you drive a lot of shit boxes I do.
Yeah, like you carry your own jack around, don't you, so to speak.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Windsor joins us from Hugh Hefner's garage. Great to see you, Sean. Mark Fellhauer is from perhaps the most infectious house that has no viruses in it, over at Red Shovel Network headquarters. And Matt Jennings is with us from Soft Magazine headquarters, the publishing conglomerate that you've come to know and love, who will be giving us this week in Soft history later on in the show. So thanks, fellas. Of course, we're brought to you live on Facebook by the technical prowess of Joey Zuver and by the generosity of Lindsay Broadwell. Lindsay Broadwell is our Facebook sponsor, so please, let's drum up some business for her. Let's help her sell some houses, maybe buy some houses for you. If you've been locked up too long, as many people feel they have been, and you realize that your house is way too small, which I think all of us feel, it's time to call our new realty sponsor, Lindsay Broadwell. When it's time to move into a home, whether you're selling or buying, you need to contact Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is one of the most valuable investments, and that's why you need an agent you can trust and who knows the business inside and out. Lindsay started her career at Hall Financial, and now she's an expert in real estate. She'll make sure you get the most out of your house, and everything goes smoothly by finding you a new home that fits your lifestyle. Buyers, sellers, especially first-time buyers, make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. That's BroadwellHomes.com or 248-767-7767. That's 248-767-7767. She's a licensed retailer at RE/MAX Nexus. That's BroadwellHomes.com.
Nobody likes your house anyway.
Rick sent you. So if you've been watching the stock market, once again, another week of volatility. And the last couple of months have been ridiculous. March, April, May, up and down. We have no idea what's going to go on. The Dow's experienced gains of 1.5% or more on 5 separate trading days back in March. To put that in some context, over the course of 2017, there was only one such trading day. Volatility appears to be back, and if you have concerns over your investments or would like to discuss your strategy, give Luke Nowacki a call at 248 663-4748, or email lnowacki, that's LNOWACKI, at jhnetwork.com. That's as in John Hancock, jhnetwork.com. He's not with John Hancock, but he'd love to put his John Hancock on a contract to manage your money because it's what he does best. Luke has been doing this for nearly 19 years and has helped clients through the dot-com collapse in 2000, the 9/11 downturn, the 02-03 downturn, the housing and financial collapse of 08-09, and now his services are called upon once again. He will make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Yeah.
So we hate Facebook here at the Soul of Detroit because they won't let us post our web address on there. We have no idea why after a year they decided that it's now somehow toxic. Perhaps if we were spending a lot of money trying to undermine democracy, they would like us. But Mark, do you know what the problem is?
Is there any Facebook genius out there that knows? We must have been reported for some reason. I don't know if it's because there's some politic talks. We can't figure it out, but they will not let us put the website anywhere on Facebook, including when you want to give them money. They don't care, which is really interesting, but you can't get an answer from people, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah, they are not the most, let's just put this, Facebook is a one-way street, and all the roads lead to Mark Zuckerberg's vault. So I think we've generated a lot of traffic for these goobers, but they don't want to make it easy for us to let you know how to connect to our website because and we don't know why.
I know, especially if you want to give them, it's like, okay, what if we try to advertise it? Will they let us do it that way? Nope. So,
yeah, and there's no appeal. Now, on the contrary, if I wanted to go out and stream myself on a murder spree while I'm sexually assaulting people,
they're fine with it. Yeah.
No objections.
No. I don't know. So there's more on Facebook later. I don't know. Anyways, at least we're on Facebook Live.
It's a good show idea.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about it. If you want to go to our website, you can find we have a whole show from early on in our tenure talking about how much we hate Facebook and why.
Maybe that's why we're not allowed.
Yeah, they just caught up with us, I guess. Well, it's, sometimes it takes a while. I think Jim Schaefer and I were doing stories on Kwame Kilpatrick at the Free Press for years before finally someone paid attention. And we're going to talk about Kilpatrick a little later on. But first, and here I have to give Facebook a little credit, they reminded me the other day there was the 6th anniversary of my trip to the Vigilante Motorcycle Club on Gratiot on Detroit's east side, which was all born of a misunderstanding. Maybe it was a smart aleck remark from someone who didn't realize that guys who ride Harleys are also interested in social media. Not so much interested in cat videos. They probably have like cheetah videos or maybe puma videos or something because they're a little tougher than the rest of us. But I posted up there. I was at the I'm trying to think what the name is, the bakery where it's basically staffed by people returning to the workforce from prison or some other setback, on the Rise Bakery. It used to be there by Nativity Church. Now they've moved down McClellan. Anyways, it's a little west of there on Gratiot. Great place to go. Anyways, across the street, I noticed the Vigilantes had just repainted their building, flat black paint, of course, and Vigilante on the front was VIGILANT apostrophe S.
Oh,
which means, something different than Vigilantes Club, where the apostrophe should be, I think, after the S.
Well, maybe it's one vigilante that owns the club. Or maybe his name's Bob Vigilante, and it's his club.
I did not think it through that deeply, so I just posted that how would you like to be the guy to explain to the Vigilantes, hey, I think I might have made a grammatical error on your sign. I thought that would be funny. Now, well, for the rest of the day, I'm getting posts from Vigilantes saying, you got a problem with our sign? What's wrong with our sign? You got a problem with the Vigilantes? I'm thinking, okay, so
not anymore, I don't.
A fairly large, fairly active motorcycle club on my side of town is not happy with me now. This can't be a good thing. So I started trying to explain that this was just kind of a joke. And one of the guys and I kind of established a dialogue. Some of the guys were not convinced. and he invited me to his wedding at the club, which is coming up in a couple weeks. And so I said, I would like to come as long as you can promise me that come to my wedding at the club is not motorcycle club lingo for we're going to stomp the dog shit out of you if you show up at our club. And he told me, no, this is legit. So I said, okay. So as the date approaches, it was on a Saturday night. I was starting to get a little nervous. I had a buddy who's up for anything who was going to go with me. Just because if I'm going to fight my way to the door, I'd rather do it back to back. And then the day of, his wife said, and I explained to him, I said, this isn't like when we go to some clubs. This is, this could be a little, because we've gone to some sketchy music clubs and these. So I said, I just need to let you know this could go very badly. And his wife at the last minute said, no, you can't go. So I had to go by myself because I figured I either show up and everything's fine and I never have to look over my shoulder, or I have to go and get the crap kicked out of me and then also never have to look over my shoulder, possibly because I won't be able to move my head again. So I showed up on my own. The guys it's a very nice club, by the way. Everybody was pretty mellow. They had a Kiss cover band playing. So I was watching the band. I bought a beer and then I noticed some guys looking over at me and they recognized me. And I thought, okay, whatever's going to happen next is going to be pretty decisive. And then I noticed a guy walk by who kind of had his head cocked as he walked by and he was staring at me the whole time. And I thought, oh boy, that's not good. I'm getting clocked by a guy who really does not seem like he ever messes around. Well,
you know what? We actually have audio of that portion of your visit. It's crazy. I don't know why.
I say we kill him. Yeah! I say we hang him, then we kill him. Yeah! I say we stomp him. Yeah! Then we tattoo him. Yeah! Then we hang him. Yeah! And then we kill him. Yeah! I say we let him go. No!
Pretty accurate, I think. I don't know.
I'm just confused. Why were you worried about hanging out at the Goldwing Club in Grosse Pointe? I don't. Or were they driving Ducatis or Triumphs if they're hip and so on? What are you worried about?
Why didn't you go with them?
It was a BMW that they had over there with the travel panniers on the back. But so anyways, nothing happens. I dropped a gift off in the gift box. It was a signed Kwame Sutra with some cash.
That's what everyone gets.
And then Kwame Sutra is available, by the way. Get one now. But as the night wore on, basically what turned out was it was a wedding. It was fine. And the guy who had his head kind of cocked was Kenny, who was one of the leaders of the club. He had been in some kind of accident, so his neck was sort of stuck like that. And the only other time I got worried because everybody was so welcoming was when he offered to give me a tour of the basement. And I thought, oh, here it is. But it was a nice place where the guys lift weight and shoot pools and drink beer. And I thought, thank goodness I get out of this place alive. And they gave me a free T-shirt and they said, come back anytime. Whenever you see bikes, you're welcome to come back. So I had a very, very nice night.
So the moral is stop stereotyping people.
No, I think the moral is don't correct people's grammar.
Oh, yeah, that too. That is kind of rude.
Yeah. But no, I think the moral is if you got a problem with somebody, you try and face it, and hopefully everybody has an opportunity to say what they have to say. And everybody, in fact, the guy who was most pissed off at me on Facebook offered to buy me a beer at the end of the night. Well, so very, very reasonable gentlemen over there, not Motor City gentlemen. Wow. They're on the west side, story, and I'm not
quite well told.
Reasonable. So.
We just had a viewer pipe in on Facebook Live. I think his name is Mr. Drew Lane, and he said, my antenna is telling me ML is winding up for a long story. Oh. Let's hope it's well told.
Yeah, he's dream weaving right now. So somebody, Layla, wake up, Drew.
What do you mean winding up? What does that mean?
Well, it takes a while to get into a story, and it keeps going. Happy anniversary.
I had a better time at the club, and that's when I thought I was going to get my ass kicked.
Well, you didn't give us a Kwame Sutra yet.
Those are now available for purchase. You get your colors, and now you get a free. And you get married, you get a free book. I'm not sure it's worth it's not worth the price. So, anyways, that little story brought to you by David Hall and Hall Financial, because they care about the community, which is why they're working from home around the clock to help people save money by refinancing. It's a great time to look at your options, and that's why many people are refinancing right now. If you haven't refinanced in the last year, Hall Financial is here to help. Now's the time to lower your monthly payments and keep some extra money in your pocket as we go through turbulent times. And by refinancing, you can probably skip up to 2 payments. So why not see if you can save some money or cut your term? Give my man Dan Morrison a call at Hall Financial. They are the fastest in the business. That's why they have nearly 1,500 five-star reviews from Michigan homeowners, including me. Go to our webpage and click on the logo to get started or call 248-308-5000. Hall Financial, lower payments, better options, more personal attention. That's Hall Financial, 248-308-5000. Click on their logo at our website, NMLS 146-7435, and tell them ML sent you.
Damn, I see demons. Dear God, I wonder, can you save me? I can't die, my boo-boo's about to have my baby. I think it's too late for praying. Hold up, her voice spoke to me and it slowly started saying,
I want to tell you, Detroit, that you done set me up for a comeback.
Oh, will I be the G that I was?
I was born and raised in this city. And Lord willing, I'm going to heaven right here in this city.
Mommy. What's the case that they gave me?
Mommy.
Mommy. What's the case that they gave me? Mommy. What's the case that they gave me? Mommy. What's the case that they gave me?
Just remember who changed your mind, because when you start set tripping, that ass is mine.
I'm not dumb.
Her great proceed to smoke weed.
I don't sell drugs or use them.
They say I'm greedy, but I still want more, because my eyes want to journey some more. Really though.
Check it out.
I don't whore around on my wife, and I don't have wicked nude parties at my house. And that's ridiculous.
Mommy, what's the case that they gave me? Hell yeah. Mommy, what's the case that they gave me?
Damn that.
Mommy, what's the case that
Thank you for showing men what true courage really is.
Wow, I'd forgotten how what it was like to live in Kilpatrick land. But this past week, starting with an email I received about 8:15 Friday morning, reminded me that there is no escape from Kwame Kilpatrick, even if he is going to essentially escape from prison because of the coronavirus outbreak. We talked about it in a special episode of ML Soul of Detroit, which you can find on our website, mlsoulofdetroit.com, or you can find it on iTunes. Please check that out. But we figured you would still want to talk about this topic, because I have to tell you, as of right now, I can't swear that it's actually going to happen, because no one in a position to know, no official people are commenting, or they claim they don't have any news.
So
did you really just say you forgot what it was like?
I did.
Patrick, you did. Okay.
And maybe it was a repressed memory.
You were being facetious, right?
Well, I mean, I'm reminded of what it's like to have control of your life pulled out of your hands because of somebody else's antics. But I've tried, despite what many people on social media would claim, I've tried to break free of the orbit of Kilpatrick planet, because it is a spatial phenomenon that sucks in all energy and emits nothing.
Okay.
Well,
I was just curious, because I hear Kwame Sutra 10 times every week, so I just wasn't sure.
That's a sacred text. I suppose you don't think that bishops should sell Bibles.
I actually will. I will back you up on this, because I know it's a double-edged sword for you. Try to move on, but still, I don't think anybody knows the story better than you do. You and Schaefer, because you were sitting in court every day. I mean, you lived with him all the time. But at the same time, that story, man, keeps going, because he is a very divisive individual. There's some people that like him. A lot of people can't stand him. And this is just another example of him getting lucky and getting out of jail because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, well, so I actually had the coronavirus, and now I'm being put in jail, the Kilpatrick Penitentiary, where I'm sentenced to report on all this. So I'm not sure that the virus affects everyone the same way.
It's really interesting, though, because when this broke on, it was Friday. God, it feels like weeks ago already. You tweeted out that you thought this has all the earmarkings of a hoax, because it came from one press release from an organization called the Ebony Foundation, which I had never heard of. Now we know a little bit more about them, and I think you should talk about what the Ebony Foundation is and who's behind it. But that was your first thought, and then you talked to some people, and you thought it was true. But now you're back. Are you back? Not saying it's a hoax, but are you back to believing that it might not happen?
Yeah, so since Sean mentioned it, the Kwame Sutra is available at drewandmikestore.com. And as it happens, we're actually having a sale on our hockey jerseys, which are beautiful. We're going to give you 20% off, and we're going to throw in a free Kwame Sutra if you want to get one of those. Those are signed Kwame Sutras, each one with a somewhat unique Smart Aleck inscription by me. Pretty soon we're going to have hats available just in time for Father's Day. So maybe you want to check out Drew and Mike's store. But
is this what Drew meant by winding?
But anyways, like Sean said, it's time to move on. By the way, Sean gets a portion of the proceeds. Let's not worry about that too much. But anyway, in theory, and someday it's sort of like Kilpatrick. In theory, he owes us $1 million, and in theory, you got a nice chunk of change coming. In practice, maybe I did learn something from the master. But to answer Mark's question, and also to throw ahead a little bit, we're going to talk about the bubbling controversy about whether or not Governor Whitmer's the first gentleman, her husband, may have pulled rank to try and get some favorable treatment. We're going to talk about that before the show is over, so stick around even if you're sick of Kilpatrick. But yeah, just like you said, Mark, I get an email. People are always talking about Kilpatrick's going to be freed anytime. I'm highly skeptical of these things. I've never heard of the Ebony Foundation, but that doesn't mean anything either. I've never heard of the women who, would do anything to spend some time intimately with Sean Windsor Foundation, but I'm told it exists, and I guess they're taking donations too. But they use a different sutra over there. But then the website that's cited on the press release comes back as invalid. And then so I make some calls. The U.S. Attorney's Office, the prosecutors who should be notified if someone's going to be released early, know nothing about it. Kilpatrick's own attorney knows nothing about it. These are people who should know, who should have been notified. And when they know nothing about it, WWJ, who broke the story, is now crowing about it. But to me, they took a big gamble.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you think it was just about being first? Because all they did was really put out that press release, but there was nothing else to back it.
So people in the news business who pay attention to metrics and algorithms and all these things that I don't understand because I'm just interested in what's true and what's not true, know that a Kilpatrick story is going to drive traffic. And one of the few things Kilpatrick has said that is true is that he is good for business for the media in the same way that Trump is. What he says that's not true is that we'll do anything to get his name in the paper just to sell papers. Sadly, we haven't been able to find any way to sell papers. But if you'd like to subscribe, freep.com, we'd be more than happy to take your money. But
why present it that way? Why not present it as it's a press release from this foundation who, by the way, seems like it's got a really squirrely background, or at least the guy that's running it did.
Yeah. So first of all, to say anything about their background would require them to do some reporting, which they weren't willing to do. But they had a press release that, or maybe they didn't have time to do it. I mean, the media is stretched so thin. It's just, it's terrible when you look at the size of newsrooms now compared to where they were 10 or 15 years ago when all this happened. There were 5 reporters in City Hall on the same floor as the mayor when Kilpatrick was elected and when he was in trouble. Now there are no reporters in City Hall. And there are not even 5 reporters who cover the city of Detroit. So that's been kind of a heartbreaking thing.
What's the rush? Because he wasn't going to get out in an hour. I mean, he's got a quarantine. Why? I don't know. I'm really upset with the way that it was handled, the way that story broke. I just thought it was pretty irresponsible.
Yeah,
I like when you get upset, Mark.
It takes a lot, doesn't it, though?
It does. It does.
So I should probably show you my T-shirt today, which I busted out of storage. This was a T-shirt that came out just before he was reelected, and it seems particularly appropriate today because if this is a hoax, Kilpatrick and his friends and supporters have succeeded in pulling another one on us. But so it was with great skepticism, and so I started making some more calls. And I think I may have told you on Friday, Mark, when you contacted me, along with every single person in the universe who has my cell phone number. I was actually glad to hear from you. The rest of them stepped to the side.
Well, I told you, I think I was probably number 100 of the people that have contacted you and asked you about this. So I knew you were getting blown up.
Yeah, you were number 100,000, but there was a 100 in there, so that was somewhat accurate. Right. But the worst thing you can do is be first and be wrong.
Yeah,
I would rather be right than be first. One of the other really bad things you can do is call something a hoax when it turns out not to be a hoax.
Oops.
So that's why I said this has all the makings of a hoax. And if people want to go back and look at my Twitter feed, it's at Elrick, and also on Facebook at ML, no periods, ELRICK, where you may be watching this right now. You'll see how there was an evolution where I never said it wasn't happening. I said, if you're not basically a principal in this matter, don't contact me. I'm working, and it looks like it could be a hoax. It still could be a hoax. And what I'm most uncomfortable about this is the way people reported this, which is responsible and fair, is to quote people on the record who should know. So I called Daniel Ferguson, the former brother-in-law of Kwame Kilpatrick, who's been a guest on this show. You can hear that episode in our archives. He said he spoke to his ex-wife, who said it's really happening. And then he quoted from an email that he saw in which Kilpatrick said, I'm coming home. It's real. Now, in the morning, Daniel had not heard anything about this. So that's another reason why it sounded like a hoax to me. But then he went and called his ex, and they're on good terms. They share a child, so they communicate. And
his ex being Ayanna Kilpatrick.
Ayanna Kilpatrick, yeah. So when he said that this is real, that's when I first put my name on it in the Free Press. And since then, other state lawmakers who have been trying to free Mr. Kilpatrick said that they'd had conversations with people ranging from Donald Trump when he was in town on Thursday to the Kilpatrick family. And so with those sort of official on-the-record sources who have some credibility, everyone reported it as a fait accompli. However, I'm still concerned that the U.S. Attorney's Office can't get a straight answer as to whether it's going to happen, and that Mr. Kilpatrick's own attorney doesn't know. So I am still very guarded. I do believe that this is going to happen, but it is not a firm belief, and I will continue, and we will continue to report on a daily basis on whether this is going to happen or not. And I'm hoping that I don't end up in Louisiana in June waiting for him to drive out, because I've been there when he drives out of prison before, and he does not stop to answer questions. And that's a long drive, and it is Louisiana.
So do we know, has he been moved into a quarantine? Is there any confirmation of that?
The only record we have of that is an oral record that comes from his friends and family and supporters. So we have nothing from the Bureau of Prisons. As we've reported in Freep.com, there's some pretty good stories up there you might want to check out. The Bureau of Prisons says, we do not discuss the status of an inmate. If you want to know what's going on with them, check on the inmate locator on Bureau of Prisons, BOP.gov. And so we just tell you whether they're here or whether they're not here. We don't tell you whether they're being prepared for release. We don't tell you whether they're being, there's a transitionary period. It's just in or out. And they do that probably for the safety of the prisoners, which seems reasonable. If you're someone who's about to get out of prison and there's a lot of people who would like to even the score with you, you don't want them waiting for you. You don't want them to have time to make travel plans, get a Super Saver flight down to wherever it is. Kissimmee, Florida, be kicking your ass when you get out. So that's fair. I just wish someone else would tell us.
So why did the Ebony Foundation put out this press release? And most importantly, who is the Ebony Foundation and who is Robert Shoemake?
Sure. So the Ebony Foundation is, in a minute on who they are, but why they would do it is because they say they've been working with other people to help free inmates who they feel received unjust sentences, either because they didn't deserve the sentence or because the sentence was very lengthy. And as we've said many times, but it bears repeating, Kwame Kilpatrick received the same sentence as a Cuyahoga County commissioner who was convicted of public corruption just 1 year earlier. And I don't think race had anything to do with it, but if that's your thing, the guy from Ohio was a white guy. Jimmy DeMora doesn't get much whiter than that. So the sentences were for equal crimes, and they received equal time.
Yeah. I mean, a crime's a crime.
Well, and the one thing is people say, well, why did somebody stole? Well, listen, the way these sentencing guidelines work, it's based on how much you stole. It's based on your prior record. Kilpatrick had a felony on his record before this. And it's also based on things they didn't charge you with that they believe you did. And it's based on whether you're a public official or not. If you're a public official, you will do more time than Joe Bag of Donuts, who does the same crime, because it's meant to deter people, and because as a public official, you have an added responsibility to serve the people. If you're just an asshole, you'll do less time than an elected asshole. And I think that's actually how it's put in the statute. So Robert Shoemake, okay, the Ebony Foundation. So it would make sense that they would put out this press release because they say that's what they've been doing. If indeed they've been doing that, I don't know. And that's the thing, a press release from a group you've never heard of. We should all be very skeptical about that, because I think, wasn't there some kid from a school in Lexington, Kentucky that people started saying stuff about? No one was really sure where it was coming from. It turned out to be trolls in Brazil or something. I mean, we really, really need to be careful. And the being right rather than being first may not make sense for internet traffic, but it only makes sense for journalism. So Ebony Foundation, no one really knew that much about him. Robert Shoemake, who we figured out is behind the Ebony Foundation, is a man with a lengthy court record, civil court, criminal court. If you read the story that was in the Free Press on Sunday, you can find out more about him. Let me just tell you, folks, what we published on Sunday is just the tip of the iceberg. This is a man who's had all kinds of trouble. Bad investments with the Detroit pension fund costing Detroiters hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Rob Wolchek at Fox 2 has reported extensively on how he's cheated people in Detroit and elsewhere. I mean, he is a guy who, I will just put it mildly, is not trustworthy. And that's not my opinion. That's the public record. And if he says it's so, my reflexive position is you better quadruple check it, because he's just not a credible source.
So he has a history of lying. Does he have a history of working with any of the Kilpatricks?
He has donated to Kwame Kilpatrick's political career. He's been described as a black Republican, so that may actually give him some credibility, because maybe that gives him access to Donald Trump. But I think he's been friendly to the Kilpatricks. I'm not exactly sure what role they played in helping him get pension deals, but we have heard of people who had City of Detroit retirement fund pension deals that were aided by members of Mr. Kilpatrick's family. So I think that bears some more investigation. I will tell you that he was not charged in the public corruption trial that sent Kilpatrick away for 28 years. But and I also want to I guess maybe apologize for something I said on Friday about Kilpatrick getting out that every man should hide his wife or be worried about his wife, because Kilpatrick does have a history of let's just say intimacy with the wives of friends and family. He seems to show no respect for anybody's, even if they're a good friend of his. The reason I want to take that back a little bit is not because it's not true. It's absolutely true. But I think we're getting back into that era where we can't have the caricature of Kwame Kilpatrick out there, my T-shirt notwithstanding. But we need to remember what he did. Mm-hmm. And what he did was very serious. I mean, he lied, he cheated, he stole, he drove the city into bankruptcy. He destroyed the career of good police officers. I
think that's the one that everybody seems to forget, are the the character that he destroyed them. Gary Brown. I mean, there's a whole slew of them that he just wanted to take down.
Harold Meltzer.
Yeah.
Walt Harris, who wrote a book about some of his experience, outstanding police officer, just the kind of guy that when you see him on the job, you say, how did we get so lucky? And Kilpatrick not only drove him off the force, he drove him out of the state of Michigan. So we're deprived of the services of a very sincere and talented police officer. And by the way, he did end up getting a settlement in the whistleblower suit too. So for the privilege of having one less outstanding cop on the streets, we have to give him some walking away money too. So what Kwame Kilpatrick did to this city and did to people, both as human beings and as citizens and as retirees, is very, very serious. So I gotta remember to stop laughing about Kwame Kilpatrick, because Kwame Kilpatrick, like the coronavirus, is no joke.
But it's so maddening. I mean, sometimes, you laugh to keep from crying, I suppose, because it's just insane. What kind of pushback do you get from people? What's the other side that people say to you about Kwame?
Well, there's some of the things he says about himself. I got 28 years for having an affair. But that's not true. That I got a disproportionately long sentence because of what I look like.
But that's not true.
That I didn't steal. That I didn't. I mean, so if you're going to spend some time in the archives, go back and listen to the show with Michael Bellata, who's one of the prosecutors who helped put Kilpatrick away. And Michael and I went through Kilpatrick's plea for clemency line by line, and almost every line in that has a falsehood in it. And they can't put you in prison for lying. But when you say things like, I didn't do this, and you absolutely had, we need to remember that our default position when Kwame Kilpatrick speaks is to believe the opposite.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sean, did you need a Kwame Sutra? Can I get you employee
Sure,
discount?
I didn't realize that he had any troubles. I didn't realize he was in prison. I didn't realize he'd been the mayor of Detroit. Pardon me?
Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to report stuff that happens all the time that everybody knows, Michigan football sucks. Don't do those stories.
Hey, come on.
Oh, sorry,
it's a low blow.
Sorry,
you don't want to lose me.
They're in the Big Ten East. That's not bad.
I'm on your side. You don't want to lose me too, do you? You already lost Sean.
Wait, no, there's no sides here. It's just that sometimes when Mark asks the questions and I don't know is probably the best answer, and then we move on to the next question. No, but Mark,
when has there been a question I didn't have an answer to?
On the same side.
So have you got an answer? Have you got an answer, ML, to the terms of the release and what this means and why he wouldn't have to go back once COVID-19 has herd immunity, a vaccine? Have you got an answer to any of those questions?
Before we move on, Sean, like the cicadas, have awakened, and I like the beautiful, beautiful sounds.
Once again, that's a yes or no question, and I'm going to be fascinated to see how it gets answered.
No. But I can speak at length on the procedures.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, please
Let me stop you. Let's keep going.
Okay. Don't forget, we want to talk about Governor Whitmer and the first gentleman too.
Sure.
But what we found and reported at freep.com is that under COVID-19 terms, basically Donald Trump and congressional Democrats and congressional Republicans, one of the few things they've worked together on is to try and reduce the number of Americans who are incarcerated and revisit the notion of who belongs in prison and who doesn't, and whether or not some of the sentences have been too harsh.
I think that's a good thing.
Sure. It's certainly cheaper. Now, when you just let people go and you don't give them any tools or resources or skills to turn their lives around, maybe we need to think about that too. But be that as it may, that's been the law of the land for a little while now. In March, U.S. Attorney General William Barr issued an order that said in certain prisons, we want to try and get people released on home confinement because coronavirus seems to be wreaking havoc in our prisons. And in early April, he sent a letter that said, in certain prisons, including the one where Kwame Kilpatrick is, we need to move as quickly as possible to release these folks and put them on home confinement. Home confinement basically means you either go to a halfway house or you go right to the home of, I guess, someone who's a relative or someone who can be trusted, and you reside there. They either have somebody checking up on you, they put electronic tether on you, they call, and if you answer the phone, I guess they figure you're okay. So you may have a career in imitating Kilpatrick's voice there, Mark. He may want to pay you. He's like, Kilpatrick here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, he's good. Okay, next. And they move on to the L's. Or they just plain old let you chill and they don't do anything with you. But the one thing we can say definitively is based on this order. If you are released on home confinement, you do not have to serve the remainder of your term in prison. We don't know whether you have to report to a parole officer for the next 21 years or not, because let's remember, Kilpatrick is being released 21 years early. 25% of his sentence has been served. And usually if you're going to get a break, you have to have served at least 50% of your sentence.
At the very least, you would think home confinement would be 20 years. But they're not going to do that.
So I've had a few personal dealings with his mother. I would rather be in prison for 20 years than stay in her house.
And that's the speculation. She lives in Atlanta now, I believe.
A suburb of Atlanta.
And
that's the other thing about the Kilpatricks. Everybody's worried if you still with the Sean. Everybody's worried that if he gets free, he's coming back to Detroit. Well, what we've seen from the Kilpatricks and Cheeks family is if there's nothing here for them, they beat it. As soon as Kilpatrick could get out of Detroit, he went to Dallas.
Where's Bernard?
After his mother was defeated for Congress, she chilled out for a few years, but then she bolted for Georgia. I mean, there's nothing here for him, and he can't run for office. So
where is Bernard Kilpatrick?
At one time, he wanted to be in Texas because that's where his grandsons were. Where he is now, I don't know. He still may be living in Detroit, but he's also an older gentleman who, pretty much, I think is just on the taking the glide path.
Ayanna, is she still here?
No, she moved to Georgia as well. We believe we know that Mom sold Mom's house and that Ayanna lost her house to mortgage foreclosure.
Oh,
beautiful house, both beautiful homes that right now are probably worth a fortune. So they don't seem to be any better at timing the real estate market than they do serving their constituents.
So I'm glad you point out he can't run for office because convicted felon. What else can he not do? Or is that the only thing? Can he be a political consultant?
Sure. So there was some debate on Saturday as we were filing our story over whether or not he has a political future in Michigan. And my contention was, no, he doesn't, because of the Kilpatrick Amendment to the Michigan Constitution. It says if you're guilty of certain crimes committed while you were in office that were perpetuated by your being an office holder, you can't hold office for 20 years after those crimes were committed. So I said he's out. But then it occurred to us, well, yeah, he could become a consultant. He could run campaigns. He could be an appointee. He could be deputy mayor. Now, that's not going to happen, but Mayor Mike Duggan certainly seems to think very highly of him. So he does have political options in Michigan. But my guess is he's going to be a salesman, because I think he would be outstanding at that, and he would make way more money being a salesman than he ever would as a political consultant. Or he could do what some people do, which is do both. Consult on the side, be a salesman, because political consulting is just being a salesman. It's marketing.
Can he write a book? Can he capitalize on his crime? Is that, that's always confusing.
Great question. There's the Son of Sam law in New York that says if you are a felon, you can't profit from the proceeds of your book. He claims there were no proceeds from the sales of his memoir, but we know that there were because we saw him selling the book and being paid for it. But I don't know how that applies to the feds. And we also don't know whether the city of Detroit or the Wayne County prosecutor would go after him for any proceeds to help pay off the $854,000 restitution tab that he still owes the city of Detroit from the pleas he reached stemming from the text message case, which, remember, before the public corruption case, there was the text message case where he was charged with and pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice.
Would you ever do a joint signing like Mario or like Claude Lemieux and Darren McCarty? Would you and Kwame sit down? Do a sign. Oh, because you have the Kwame Sutra out there. I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of joints, I could see him opening a dispensary.
Oh, why not?
I mean, Kilpatrick Dank.
Well, that's sure. Legal. Why not?
Yeah. So if Kilpatrick wanted to do something like that, so I think people think that I have something personally with Kilpatrick, and I don't. I actually really liked him. Almost went to work for him.
Worked for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as he's not left alone at my house or has access to any of my financial information, I'd spend time with him. I'd love to to get that beer that he promised us all after the last Stanley Cup. But I'm not sure it'll be on him unless he spills it. But if he wanted to do a joint book signing, I absolutely would do that under the proviso that all proceeds go to one of two things, me or charity.
His restitution.
And a lot of the proceeds, for years, the proceeds from the Kwame Sutra strictly went to charity. So now it goes to the Drew and Mike store to support this show. But Kwame Sutra sales we've given thousands of dollars to nonprofits, including to our official charity, Eagle Sports on the East Side, that does tutoring and sports for kids that otherwise wouldn't get either. So I would love to do some things with him where we talk to people about what happened. And I think there'd be some real value to that. If not because he's necessarily going to come clean, but so that when he's done speaking, I could get up there and say, that was all a lie. Thank you. He doesn't want to spend time with people who know and speak the truth. So I don't think we'll ever be in the same room together, unfortunately.
That would be, I got to say, that would be very interesting to see. I don't know, a face-to-face conversation between you and him and Schaefer, because I'm sure he blames you guys for reporting the facts. I mean, I don't know. He could.
It depends. There's times where he says that my appetites overwhelmed my character. So there are times when he seems somewhat contrite. But as we know from his plea for clemency, he's like Fonzie. Yeah. He can't say he's wrong. If he says he's sorry, I'm not sure I've heard it. Sorry, I heard him apologize to his wife. Mm-hmm. But there's 699,999 other Detroiters who are owed at least an apology. But I know Drew is hung up with showing remorse and stuff like that. To me, he's Pete Rose.
Yeah.
If there's an apology or there's remorse, it's calculated and it's meaningless. And I think that's a shame because he is a man, as Mayor Duggan said, who's very smart and very talented. And he did have a lot to offer. And he could still make a difference in a lot of people's lives. But I think he's most interested in making his life better. And that's why when people ask me if I think he got a just sentence, other than the fact that it was within the guidelines, I think he did. How he's going to serve the rest of it, we'll keep reporting on for you here and at freep.com. So let's talk a little bit about Governor Whitmer. Sean was very interested in a story that you can find at freep.com and that I first heard about on Friday that alleges that Governor Whitmer's husband, the first gentleman, tried to pull rank to get a boat in the water for the Memorial Day weekend. Sean, what do you make of this? I mean, is this news? Do we even know that it's true?
Well, I mean, depends on if you take the word of the owner of the dock, right? The marina or what? Not the marina, I guess, but the company that puts the boats in the water, who went on Facebook apparently and posted that the first gentleman asked if the fact that he was the first gentleman would make a difference in terms of his station in the line, his place in the line, so to speak. And when he was told, by the way, I guess he said, "Okay, fine, that's whatever," and moved on. But I don't know. It seems to me that after everything we've been through as a state the last couple of months, if it is true, that's pretty damn tone deaf on his part.
Yep. To
go out there and use the office to curry favor when people, nobody's been able to get out in a boat. We've all had to make sacrifices. So for him to do that, and then if it is true, for them then to deny it once it got out, to me that's probably worse in a way. It's the playbook of way too many politicians these days, and that's really unfortunate.
It's going to be whatever side you're on. If you don't like her, then it's going to be true. If if you tend to like her, then people will say it's not true. You can almost see the division happening already because there's a state senator who believes this is all 100% true and that it's a cover-up, and they wanted him to be involved in the cover-up because he posted something. But, you have the word of the guy, I think it's called North Shore Docks.
Yes.
This is going off a Facebook post. He did not talk to the person on the phone. It was relayed to him. You could tell that guy's not a fan of Whitmer's, but that doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's not true. It's going to be really intriguing.
So let me read you the social media post It was posted by a guy named Tad Dawker, and it was posted, I believe, late Thursday night.
Yeah.
So today put a smile on my face. As most of you know, we install docks, store boats, etc. They store boats, not they install store boats. Anyways, this morning I was out working when the office called me. There was a gentleman on hold who wanted his boat in the water before the weekend. Being Memorial Weekend and the fact that we started working 3 weeks late means there is no chance this is going to happen. Well, our office personnel had explained this to the man, and he replied, "I am the husband to the governor. Will this make a difference?" As you can imagine, it does make a difference that you would put to the back of the line. In other words, yeah, it does make a difference. You're now definitely last. Needless to say, our governor and her husband will not be getting their boat for Memorial Day. Too good not to share. I love it when karma comes around, even if just in small doses.
I will say this. I don't know why he would make something like that up.
I agree.
I'm inclined to believe that it is true.
Yeah. So this is why I both love and hate my job, because now that we're talking about Kilpatrick, all the Kilpatrick lovers will say, I'm a Republican. And when we cite some things that President Trump has done that are not true, everybody says, oh, you're a flaming liberal. So here's where I get to get slammed by everybody who hates Governor Whitmer. Here's my problem with this story, and here's why I pass this tip along rather than report on. Well, first of all, I'm stuck in the Kilpatrick vortex, so I can't do both of them. But here are the questions I have about this story. I don't think there's any question that this gentleman posted what he posted. I don't think there's any question that someone told him, someone who works for him told him what he says they told him. Here's what I don't know. And I don't know if the governor's husband called this place. I don't know if somebody called this place claiming to be the governor's husband. I don't know, thinking that they might be able to pull a fast one. I don't know if this is one of the people who refers to Governor Whitmer as Gretchen Antoinette, and who keeps asking us, where does she get her hair done and all this other stuff. And I get tons of tips about, everything short of she had a wild party at the Manugian Mansion. So I don't know, and that's I should check my inbox, because maybe that's where they brought the boat. But I don't know whether that was her husband who called. And that's why when you get something like this, the rush to be first, we can't do that. We need to establish before we report things like this that the husband of the governor actually did make this phone call. Now, here's where things get problematic. The governor's response was, we are not going to report on every rumor and everything that's out there.
Yep.
And the state senator, who was told by the Senate Majority Leader that the governor's office had contacted the Senate Majority Leader to say it's not true, took down his critical post. Now he believes that it is true again. And so I believe he's now, talking about it. The governor's office seems to be steadfast in their refusal to address this directly, which I understand, because then you have to address every single rumor that's out there. But I think this is the point where you have to make the exception and say yes or no. You have to come out with a definitive statement. No, it's not true. My husband did not call. Here's his call log, in case you were wondering. Or yes, he did call. It was just an offhand remark he made. It was a mistake, but we're moving on. The problem I have with this, and why we didn't report it right away on Friday, other than the Kilpatrick stuff, let's forget about Kilpatrick for a moment, is until I know who made that phone call, if it was truly the governor's husband, I don't think it's news. I think it's highly speculative. And I think in the environment we live in, reporting something, putting it on the record is enough for the trolls to build an entire narrative based on it. And if it's true, shame on them. Yeah. If it's not true and we're reporting it, shame on us.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, first of all, the reason it's news in this day and age is because the state senator got involved, right? If it's just the Facebook post from the dock owner, then is the Free Press going to write about it? I mean,
we might.
Is Detroit News going to write about it?
Right. So that's an excellent point, because as you may recall, we didn't really report on the Manugian Mansion party rumor until there was a lawsuit alleging that it happened, or alleging that someone was fired for investigating. So there are ways that these things come in to the media, but I always feel like I just want to tell people what's true, not what people are saying about what may or may not be true. So I don't contest it as news. I guess what I'm saying is at this point, it is news, just as Kilpatrick's potential release is news. But I do feel like if we can't tell you for sure whether something's true or not, I'm just never comfortable with that. And if you want to say that I'm running interference for somebody, that's fine. But it's just this is the way I feel. I don't want to tell you that I don't know something.
I will say
I don't
this.
disagree with you, but this is just, unfortunately, it's the landscape we're in. I mean, the President of the United States, okay, here's a good example. He will occasionally retweet something that's not true, right?
Yeah.
From a source that has no credibility at all. That the president's tweet then becomes part of the news cycle and gets reported in what his supporters would call the mainstream press or whatever, and it just cycles through, and it works that way at every level. With this state senator who did this, if he is recirculating, false information, that should eventually come back on him. But these politicians don't pay the price for that anymore. So I think they're more and more emboldened to do that.
Let me ask you guys this, though. There was a story before the state senator, I forget his name. Let me look it up really quick. Barrett. Before he got involved, there was a story out over the weekend, not in the Free Press, but in the other paper, that reported on it. And the way they reported it was purported request for a boat launch fuels controversy for Whitmer. And if you read it, you could see it's up in the air whether or not it's true or not. So it was.
Craig Mauger of the Detroit News reported that very responsibly. Craig and I did some great work when he was with the Michigan Campaign Finance Network, and I was at Fox 2. We worked together on a lot of really good stories. He's one of the best reporters in the state. But I'm just not comfortable with anything that has in its headline purported. And I say that as someone who has now been reporting for a few days that Kilpatrick is reportedly being released from prison. And that's why we've tied these two discussions together, because I can't tell you, I hope it's palpable how uncomfortable it is that we're reporting things responsibly that we don't know are true. I mean, to me, you come to us for answers, not for the latest back and forth on some dog shit.
That's not true. That's complete. I love.
We go to you for some dog shit, not to me.
Listen, man, I love you, but that's disingenuous as all.
Say it. No, say it.
We report arrests every freaking day, and a lot of those people are not guilty of anything. We have no idea what the truth is, but because they're arrested, we report it. We report before they get. I would at least like us to wait for an arraignment and charges, and even then, we don't know if somebody's guilty. We have no idea what the truth is, and we report it. It's been our system for decades, for 100 years, and it's not fair in a lot of ways. I understand what you're saying, but to cherry pick all of a sudden, we're not going to report this because we don't know all the facts or the truth. We do that every day. That's the unfortunate nature of our business.
So if Sean was working for the Jerusalem Times, here's how he'd cover the crucifixion. Jesus is back. We'd miss everything. We'd miss the trial. We'd miss.
No, I would say
Barabbas is free. Is that what we say?
But
I would say something you can't say. Jesus may or may not be back. We don't know. But there's a possibility.
That's kind of his
point. Who's back, Sean? Shady's back.
That's what we do, my man. You know this.
It's still.
That's right.
It's still a story.
Tell a friend.
Yeah, I guess it's a story because
you have to couch
be.
everything. It's like this. It's like with the COVID and with the virus. The science changes and it evolves.
Okay.
We're not sure, right?
So now you don't like it when we report that people who have been licensed and trained to evaluate whether a crime's been committed say something, but you're comfortable with something on social media that no one can confirm that we report that. So you don't like the higher standard. So you hold up the lower standard and say let's not do the higher standard. I'm confused. Is this our great debate?
I'm saying get down off your ivory tower and don't act like we don't do that all the time. I'm not saying I'm comfortable with any of it.
Hey, right? I went to Michigan State. I'll stand on a keg, but if you want an ivory tower, you got to go to Ann Arbor.
Once the state senator got involved, for better and for worse, that made it news. If it's him perpetuating something that's not true, that should come back on him. But you guys, and by you, yes, you take the same attitude with arrests. You do.
So
we're putting out there somebody got arrested and we have no idea if they're actually guilty or not. None. But they're branded there because they got arrested.
That's not true. To be arrested, there has to be some evidence of a crime or probable cause.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's true. That's why we have a court system.
Thanks, Ginsburg.
Come on, man.
But to that point, the news is the arrest. I mean, someone getting arrested doesn't mean
right. And it's like the news is the state senator is saying, "Hey, there's a cover up," and right. I mean,
and if we don't report that they're arrested, maybe they get disappeared, like in South America.
No,
so I
agree. I'm just saying it's all part of the same. It's a tricky thing because we don't know a lot of things, but they become news and we write about them.
But then
it's absolutely a tricky thing. It's absolutely a tricky thing, and I agree with what you're saying. All I'm saying is I'm uncomfortable when we can't report something as to whether it's truthful or not.
That's why we have to, get both sides, and we have to couch stuff, and maybe we have to use modifiers.
Well, that's why it's time for the governor to stand up and say whether this is true or not. She's got to go on the record.
I agree with you.
Well, there we go. There's another miracle. Jesus is back, and Sean and I agree.
She should say, "Hey, my husband made a mistake," or "No," and emphatically and show the phone records. It's not that difficult.
Yep, that's on them.
I won't change my mind on anything, regardless of the facts that are set out before me. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Pray not. Pray so. Pray not. Pray so. Pray not infinity. Pray so infinity plus one. No.
Well, that was our great debate. But
it's just really hypocritical, the whole thing. Anyway, go ahead.
1 minute we agree, now it's hypocritical?
No, not you.
Okay.
No, not you. Just if she did that, it's why people hate a lot of the left, right? Because they get up on their high horse and then they do this, and it's really
listen, dude. This is not a left or right issue. I've seen the right get up on their high horse too. Remember when everyone was
for sure.
Okay. I mean, and that's why now somebody say, "Oh, now he's picking on the right. He must be enough." No, I'm in the middle. I'm in a perspective where I can say, I see what the left is doing and I don't like it. And I see what the right's doing and I don't like it, because what they're doing is the same thing. And if you're a sheep, guess what? You're going to make me a nice sweater and maybe a fine piece of mutton, but don't be a sheep. Matt, you were going to say something. We need some wisdom here from the soft regime.
Well, I was just going to say that I think it's all relative. I almost think that boat story is something that you'd almost see on TMZ, where the Kwame thing, you're reporting something that may or may not be true, but it needs to be said because it's obviously out there and it's a big deal. But for this nepotistic, boat thing, it just seems kind of not very important. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could argue that why report on Kilpatrick? He's not in a position to do anything to anybody except, not pay back restitution. Who knows? Or maybe he's in a position to redeem himself. But with Whitmer, if she's a hypocrite and she's not following her own orders, that is pretty big news because she expects the rest of us to do it. In fact, she said if we don't do it, we're breaking the law. And now she's got a judge's order that says that her executive order is the law of the land. So if she is using a double standard, I guess, and I'm still not comfortable. We don't know what the answer to the question is, but I'd say that really is news, because if we have a hypocrite in office, it kind of brings us back to the hypocrite we had in office with Kilpatrick. And if we don't catch these people in their hypocrisy, how much do they get away with?
I think.
Let's just keep going with this. This is our great debate.
That's fine.
I completely agree with you.
I think they're both.
But that's not a debate if you agree with me. Damn it! I just got us out of this trap.
On that part, I do. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say they're very similar, and I think they both should be reported on. But it kind of goes back to the consumer of the story. Are they going to read the Kwame story and say, "Oh, he's out"? Are they going to read it and say, "Well, not yet. We don't know"? Are they going to read the boat story and go, "He did it. He tried to pull rank"? Or are people going to read it and say, "Well, we don't know. Maybe he didn't do it and someone was messing around. That guy made it up"? I mean, in reading the story today in the paper, the way it's written, it seems pretty fair and balanced, to use that term, as to whether or not it happened. Now, it's on me as a consumer. I kind of am inclined to believe that there was some rank pulled, and I'm inclined to believe that Kwame is going to be out soon. But that's just how I'm taking it, the way it's presented.
Well, the problem here is I agree with the governor's position that we can't report on every rumor on social media. I mean, how much crap is there on social media? More than ever. You wouldn't get anything else done. But I do think she has to say something now. This has now become an important public policy matter, and she can put it to bed. And the quicker she says it didn't happen, because while Kwame Kilpatrick, and we played some of that earlier in the show, said it didn't happen, I wouldn't throw wicked naked parties at my house. really, in that case, he was telling the truth. It didn't happen. And the fact that he lied all the time meant people didn't believe it. And there may be some other issues there that have to do with what he looks like and his age and how he dressed. And I'll acknowledge those things. But Whitmer, I think to this point, has credibility as someone who tells the truth. Whether you like her policies or not, I don't think anybody questions that everything that comes out of her mouth, whether it's a lie or not, she has got to protect that. And if she screwed up, she's got to apologize. And if she didn't, she has to say, this is crap.
Well, the office has already, the spokesman for the governor's office has already said that to some degree. So now what are you going to do? You're going to backtrack? And by the way, let's modify it and say if it is true. What was he thinking? No, first of all, it's tone deaf, right? Secondly, why are you calling in an area of the state in a business where you have no idea what somebody's political leanings are, in an era where anybody will take just about anything and post it out there to cost you, to go after you, right? To go after your reputation. It was just, not only was it hypocritical, it was idiotic.
Sean, it's very simple. He wanted to get his boat in the fucking water and get out on the water from
right. I know, but he's
not thinking about all that.
Right? I mean,
no, of course not. Of course not.
Most of, I don't want to stereotype, but right. I mean, what are the odds that somebody who owns that kind of business in that part of the state is a Democrat?
Well, neither here nor there, though.
No, but you got to think about that. They have to think about that.
So I think what you're saying, Sean, is that it was politically stupid in addition to being stupid.
In addition to being hypocritical.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, okay. Really so that's sure. I agree. If it's true, but the whole thing I come back to is,
if it's true.
I mean, I don't care what the guy's political leanings are. If you did, it was stupid. You shouldn't have done it, whether you thought somebody's going to tell or not. Now, I will tell you that I heard there's another part of that rumor that I haven't seen reported anywhere. And maybe that's what we should be focusing on, because if we can prove that part of the rumor isn't true, or we can confirm that it is true, then that might help us get some sense of the veracity of the other piece.
What other part?
We're going to do some reporting on that. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. That's called a tease in the biz.
Yeah, but
or a cliffhanger.
Doesn't everybody pull rank, though, with a little bit of power?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been in situations where people have said, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, you have to put me in the back of the line. They're like, no, I won't move you up. I'll leave you in the middle of the line. And I'll tell them, the fact that you offered to put me in the front of the line, now you have to put me in the back of the line, because I just can't have that out there. So there are people who they tend not to be in office.
But I think Matt means politicians. And that's how I took your question, right, Matt? Do you mean politicians?
Yeah. Well, actually, anybody really. Now that I'm thinking about it, celebrities.
Oh God.
People with a little bit of influence.
I don't think they all do.
But
there's a difference.
But getting a boat out is not that big of a deal. That's why I'm saying, like,
exactly.
But on a beautiful weekend when you're working your ass off, if you miss those 3 days on the lake, that is a big deal.
It is,
that's true.
Is there
but it doesn't justify it.
Is there a difference between asking for it or somebody just recognizing your name and just sort of doing something and accepting it? I mean, is there a difference between seeking it out and just sort of accepting some of the gifts and favors you get with your status in life? And I'm not talking about just politicians at this point.
She should probably just give him the silent treatment, like she's giving the rest of the state the silent treatment on this issue. Just don't talk to him. She should throw him under the bus. Say she had no idea about it. And then just give him the silent treatment.
Matt, to your point, I think most people understand that you get perks and favors with certain kind of success in life. Where the public makes the distinction, I think, this is aside from politicians, is the idea that you don't big time anybody. That you don't actively seek it out. Do you know who I am? Do this for me, do this for me. If you don't do that and people just sort of do things for you as a matter of course because you treat people decently, you've had some success, I think most people are okay with that.
Well, then there are some people in my city hall days, I'd meet somebody at a bar and they'd insist on buying me a drink. And then I'd usually if they wouldn't let me buy them a drink, I'd send $10 to a charity and just say, and I'd send them a note that said, thanks for the beer. I've turned it into a donation to a good cause. There's ways you can deal with it. But again, until we know whether this is true, I think we have to stay on this story. I don't think there's much debate about that. I just am always going to be uncomfortable when we report things that we don't know whether they're true or not.
I agree.
And that, I was just going to say that's a great debate, but you agree. Sean, say something.
I disagree with everything you said.
And that's your great debate.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek?
or we're too many cool guys.
But I do think Sean was right about that. Anyway, so your Geek of the Week. Our runner-up is someone who very easily could have taken our top prize, and that is public officials who are running interference for the meat packing plants. I know that sounds like a really boring topic off the top, but one of the things we're finding is that in addition to nursing homes, meat packing plants are one of the places where the coronavirus is running rampant. Well, there was a nuclear plant in England that became very controversial. And instead of fixing it, they just changed the name and they thought that would make it better. We're running into something like that now, where as the meatpacking plants are taking a lot of heat for not properly sanitizing, for not tracking down the source of the infection in their plant, they are now no longer reporting data to health officials about who is sick and how they got sick. So there is a phenomenon in North Carolina and Colorado where these meatpacking plants are being allowed to get away with this. And there's a health official in Colorado who was caught in an email, or the email was unearthed, where he said, bad news spreads way faster than the truth. At this point, we are not doing anything to cast them in a bad light. We will not throw them to the press in explaining why Colorado is no longer going to press for this data to share with the rest of the world. That's your Geek of the Week. So that tells you what a strong week we have for geeks. And it also makes you wonder what the hell else is in that hot dog. But our Geek of the Week he's a returning champion. He's kind of the Ken Jennings or whoever that guy is from Jeopardy. It's Mark Zuckerberg. And the Washington Post reports that Facebook will now let some employees work from anywhere, but their paychecks could get cut. Rachel Lerman and Elizabeth Dwoskin of the Washington Post report that Facebook says it will start allowing some employees to work remotely for good. Facebook could have about 50% of its 45,000 person company working remotely in the next 5 to 10 years, but it will also lower paychecks to reflect cheaper cost of living in some cases, depending on the location. Here's why I think Mr. Zuckerberg should be a geek. Because when you work from home, typically you're either such a shitty reporter or employee that they know and they blow you out. But generally what you are is you're working more than the 40 hours a week. And by the way, you're actually saving the company money because they're not paying for my internet connection. They're not paying for my chair. They're not paying for my desk. They're not paying my electricity bills. They're not paying my water bill because I'm using the local shitter a lot more than the company pot. They're not paying for a lot of things that I normally pay for. They're not paying for rent for my desk, for all that other stuff. So if you ask me, I say I'm saving the company money and giving them more than they paid for, and you're going to cut my pay to do you a favor? Mark Zuckerberg, for many, many reasons. The reasons are legion. You are a Geek of the Week.
You kids are soft.
I don't care for that guy. Me neither. Too soft.
I'm gonna pretend like you didn't just make my dick go soft.
Okay. How you doing, ML?
I agree.
I always get confused whenever my piece starts because I don't know if you're supposed to start or me. And in fact, my first time doing it, I think it was about 3 minutes of awkward silence.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Jennings, the editor of Soft Magazine, with This Week in Soft Rock.
Oh, I just get thrown off by the sorry, Matt, by the dick going soft line. It makes me cringe every week.
Why?
I don't know.
That's making dicks go soft everywhere.
This is a family show.
It is?
It's supposed to be, yeah.
I'll let my kids
it's
watch
the
this.
Manson family.
Yeah.
You mean like my jar full of piss line last week?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's acceptable.
Part of the family show?
That's acceptable. All right, I don't want to mess up your timing. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. That's nice.
You mean anymore? Yeah.
I meant anymore, yes.
Well, it's good to be with you guys. Talk all over me. I don't care.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Jennings is with us.
Okay,
no relation to Ken Jennings.
No relation. But Waylon Jennings is my third cousin.
Really?
Yeah. I'm high from the coke he did.
I don't believe that. Where's the evidence? This is another rumor. It's getting reported.
I'll do a rail.
He was setting up the coke line.
I'll do a rail right here, and it won't affect me. Okay, here's what happened this week in soft history. In 1934, Bonnie and Clyde, the notorious American outlaw couple, were killed in a police shootout near Gippsland, Louisiana. which is one of the many stories in my new book, Dating Adventures, How to Spice Up Your Relationship.
That's not too far from where Kilpatrick, I think, is incarcerated. He could give you some dating tips.
He could. Yeah, he's had it all, hasn't he?
One more like that, and Mike's going to shove that pencil in his eye.
Or somewhere else. In 1986, Hands Across America took place raising more than $50 million to fight hunger and homelessness. And if you don't know what Hands Across America is, that's where approximately 7 million Americans join hands all across the country, or as the Amish would call it, an orgy.
I would like to point out I was a participant. My whole family was a participant in Hands Across America. We had to go down to Toledo, Ohio to participate.
Are you kidding me?
What year was that, Matt, did you say?
That was in 1986. So you were young.
So I was 10.
Kindergarten, maybe?
At 10? No,
grade?
What was fourth grade, I think, when you're about 10?
Mark had a slow start.
and it shows. But I was always really confused. I'm like, how do they hold hands across the desert? Like, I didn't understand. Like, I thought it was legitimately everybody was holding hands across America.
Imagine what they held on the docks.
Well, in the age of social distancing, how many times could they go around the world now?
What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. It'd be
you get an extra 6 feet between everybody now.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Well, it's elbows across America now, and you just hold your breath.
Yeah.
I'm holding my breath in anticipation of the next momentous moment in soft history.
Oh, boy, here we go. In 1998, concerns were being raised by many librarians and academics that the internet was more likely to provide bad information than good, as there were no checks and balances in place. Then they found out the porn was free.
That's the librarians. It's saying something about that pent-up angst.
It means that, you know what? We'll allow it. We'll allow it now.
It is amazing.
I actually thought you were about to make a really amazing point about society and where we are and where we're headed. And then, you had to go to porn. But that's okay.
Do you want to make that point, Sean?
No. He sort of made it. I think in 1998, librarians being worried about, they saw the future, didn't they? Anyway, go on, Matt.
No, I agree with you, and it is kind of a deep
No, you don't.
subject.
Just keep going.
Okay.
Way to build up confidence in the team there, Sean. Way to coach them up. You can't hit that curve, but get out there, son.
Every week, Sean hits that dinger right in my forehead.
That's right.
All right. Finally,
he's the one who told Charlie Huff to stick with his fastball. Hey, Wakefield, just keep giving him the heat.
He's not amused.
All right, and finally.
I am amused. I'm waiting for Matt.
All right, and finally, in 2008, the single-child rule was relaxed for earthquake families in China, which is silly. Who wants to plan a wedding for your kid right after an earthquake? And that's your This Week in Soft History.
See you again.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
It's fun to do. I'm having a ball.
We're all having a ball here at Bass Week at ML Soul of Detroit. Welcome to Room 7609, where this month we're celebrating the bass guitar and the virtuosity of people who maybe have never touched a synthesizer and maybe put a couple synthesizers out of business. Drum machines still doing well in the techno world, but we are highlighting some of the greatest bass playing in new wave. We're brought to you by Elric Bass Guitars at elric.com. If you got a lot of dough, they got a lot of basses, so give them a call. They would love to hook you up. Custom-made basses of all sizes, shapes, colors, you name it. Babinga wood, they'll tell you what Babinga wood is. This week, we're ending the month with Duran Duran with This Is Planet Earth, brought to you by my man, whose last name is the same as everybody else's name in the band. if you're going to have a problem, the problem to have is the one Duran Duran has, that you're so damn good looking that people think you're not great musicians. John Taylor, the bass player in Duran Duran, is just friggin' outstanding. This guy knows his way around a bass like few others in rock and roll. Outstanding. And while that just has kind of a heavy thumping backbeat to it the whole time, when you listen to the hook, the chorus, he's up, he walks all over the place, man. It's a beautiful thing to listen to. And if you have not really paid too much attention to him, or maybe you're like, Duran Duran, whatever, check out the Power Station. John Taylor and Andy Taylor, who also is an outstanding guitar player for Duran Duran, left to do a side project, the Power Station, with Robert Palmer and Tony Thompson, who slams the drums. Like, you wonder if the kit's still around at the end of the show. Outstanding players. And while one of the things I love about New Wave is that it was groundbreaking, not just in terms of the music, but in terms of the instrumentation, you got to have a foundation for anything. And that heavy bass, that backbeat, that thumping, that popping bass that he has, you really have something you can dance to or just sit down and listen to. And if you remember when we had LPs, the album art and the liner notes for Duran Duran were worth just spending an hour or two just marinating in. But John Taylor, last installment in Bass Month here at Room 7609. Fantastic. Fellas, is your diaphragm still rattling from that? Or Sean, is your prostate still swelling from that? Or where are we at now?
Yeah, we're okay, relatively. We're okay for now.
Okay. No, Duran, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Oh, I think anything Duran Duran does is good. And that bass line sounded so friggin' cool with that that pop. Love that.
I feel like they're underrated. I don't know why. Just nobody ever really talks about them, at least in the rock music world.
Well, you've got the videos, right? The videos are an art form, and they really perfected it. So are they an art band? Are they Pretty Boys? Are they a boy band? Are they a dance band? Are they whatever?
They've changed. They've changed multiple times. They're still together too. They still had a top 20 hit not that long ago, maybe in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, they're also shadowed by their two big hits, and so I think sometimes that takes away from a great band's skills, because they know those two songs, even though they're great songs. But that's one moment in time, whereas they've broadened out.
I thought they had more than two hits.
Oh,
well, yeah. I'm thinking of Rio and Hungry Like a Wolf are like the two ones that pop up in my head at any time someone says Duran Duran.
I think they were so big that there's a pushback, right, a backlash, and then you kind of fall off, and now they're underrated. It's weird. You can go from being overrated to underrated and back. Happens in sports too.
Fun fact, Matt, those two songs were not their two highest charting songs, at least in the States. That would be The Reflex.
Yeah.
Oh, The Reflex.
Anybody want to guess?
And Wild Boys, was that up there?
Nah, I don't know where Wild Boys
was.
What
about the theme to the Bond movie?
You got it. That hit number one.
A View to a Kill.
Yeah, that's got to be up there. Now, Planet Earth, which we played, is from their first LP, and our purpose in 7609 is to either introduce you to bands that you didn't know that you now are glad you know, or to sort of shine the light on some really outstanding music by bands that you know, but they have so much out there that you didn't realize they had this too. So this is a chance not only to appreciate the musicians in these bands, but also to go back through the catalog and say, if you think it was Rio, if you think it was Girls on Film, if you think it was the Bond theme, there's so much more in the Duran Duran catalog, including some of the more recent stuff and including some of the tunes they did with some of the players who came along after half of the Taylors left.
Yeah.
There's a song, Electric Barbarella. It's outstanding. Cool video, too. I can't remember where the guitar player's from, but he has like many musicians, traveled quite up and down the New Wave street.
Planet Earth, very first single, by the way. Did you know that?
What?
ML? Did you know that was their first one?
I knew it was on the first album. If I recall correctly, the biggest hit off the first album was Please, Please Tell Me Now, but that was not on the initial LP release.
Oh. I don't know. They have Planet Earth listed as their very first single.
I prefer Planet Claire by the B-52s.
Yes, B-52s. You can't go wrong there. They may be making an appearance in Room 76.
I'll probably sit. Yeah. Good. I'll sit and listen.
I can't wait to hear them.
There's nothing that a party and dance band likes more than an old guy saying, "Nice, I'll sit and listen."
Well, usually he vacates the room. He leaves room 7609.
And yell, "Turn it down" through your screen door as you tell those kids to get off your lawn.
I'm an old man. I used to be able to make it through the show, but when Mike started adding on 3 or 4 more hours of talk, it's just hard to sit and not get to the restroom. You know what I mean? I'm like
Well, it's a lot easier if you just accept everything I say. It'll go a lot faster.
The body just doesn't work like it used to. I know that's a softball for you, Mike, but it's the truth.
Well, then I have to concede that it worked in the first place. I'm not ready to give any ground.
All right, there you go.
Well, the sad thing is he usually gets up to purge after my piece.
Understandably.
No, I sit and suffer. I like your piece so much that I sit and suffer through your piece. I'm not going to get up.
I like it, so you suffer through it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I suffered, I crossed my legs. I cross my legs so I don't soil the couch, and then I listen to your jokes, right, whatever they are, and then I go down and I'm kidding.
Wow, it's more inspiring locker room talk from Coach Windsor. Sean is to me as I am to Kilpatrick. We listen while we don't want to, if only to try and keep the facts somewhere in the conversation. And I will tell you, Sean, your vigil is just as lonely and futile as mine is. So if you have a suggestion for Room 7609, please send it to us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. You can call us at 313-288-9078. That's Butterfield 890. Oh, sorry. Is it 9070 or 907?
9070.
Oh, sorry. Maybe that's why nobody's calling. It's 313-288-9070. That's Butterfield 89070. We love to get your feedback. We have a lot of feedback to share with you. We have now 457 5-star reviews and 6 1-stars reviews, including a 1-star review that says great show and interesting topics. So much for that. This week, feedback comes from Fish Stick Rick, who says, great report and entertaining, needs farts. Yes. Right. And I swear, this just fell this way. Our next comment is from Knight of the Brown Star, who I suspect is on the same page as Fish Stick Rick, who says, one of my favorites, keep up the good work. Sir Lai is back again. Great show, very balanced and fair, which is good because last week he said lots of interesting topics and ML never yells at us, even though I was yelling a lot. We have tons of great feedback. Whoa, there's a long one. Let me hold that one. Daryl says, the show rules and I look forward to it in the middle of every week. It makes me feel at home as a born and bred Detroiter who has been in LA for 15 years. Yeah. Although you cats have never brought up the interesting, weird, and long history of City Club, a downtown place that fits pretty perfectly in room 7609. A song below might be too long for the segment, but always rocked in the City Club. We should talk about the City Club sometime. It's still open. Epic club in the basement of the used to be the Ramada Inn on Bagley downtown. The Leader Knock was there. There was a place called Labyrinth that was around there too. Massive dance floor. I used to regularly request Front 242. Stone Roses, even Mars, even though it was kind of poppy, but great alternative club, really authentic. To this day, it's all still flat black paint, dance floor, and little nooks and crannies where you can either get your nose pierced with a pin or with a Heineken bottle that someone has thrown. Great spot. So, Daryl, thanks for bringing up the City Club.
Would you rather go to there, or would you rather go to the motorcycle club that you mentioned earlier in the show?
Well, one's in Detroit and one's not. So,
City Club's in Detroit, Bagley and Cass.
Right? Yeah, and the Goldwing Grosse Pointe deal. Was...
Oh, you got me with the orthodontist. I think they used to park their bike in front of Mesa back when it was what the hell was it with the peppers in front?
Monterey.
Monterey, right? Yeah. On Wednesdays, I think all the orthodontists would park their Harleys out there.
So many bikes.
I never really worried about knocking those over. But if you had to pick between the Majestic in its heyday, City Club in its heyday, or the Shelter in its heyday, that's a tough call. Yeah. But in terms of places that have kept the torch alive for people who don't otherwise see light because they're so pale, you got to go with the City Club. And of course, bookies way back when. But anyways, Daniel says, Jesus, let's just let everyone out of jail. I'm sure this is Trump working to get the Detroit vote. We'll see. David says, I don't make this observation in order to make a political point, but rather than point out the glaring hypocrisy many people bring up to justify not wearing a mask. As Mark pointed out, the biggest argument is that being required to wear a mask in a store is an infringement of their rights, despite the fact it's a private business. Wasn't there a huge case a few years back about a bakery that refused to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple? Which side of the argument did barefacers side with back then? And Kyle D. Lawrence, maiden name Jennings, says, let me start by saying I really enjoy the podcast. The mixture of you and Mark and Windsor is great. I love the jokes by Jennings.
Hey!
And you have a wonderful sense of humor at the FCC Greatly Mask. Keep up the good work and keep it stiff. We also have a lengthy email from Deb. It's so long, I'm not going to be able to get into it. Basically, she says she's a Whitmer supporter and that her family wears masks, but it's worth noting the falsehood and lies from experts at CDC, WHO, NIAID, I think that's the infectious diseases people at AL. Surgeon General on February 29th. Seriously, people, stop buying masks. They're not effective in preventing general public from catching corona. So she raises a lot of examples of people saying things that later pivoted.
But wait a sec, that's understandable. But then the CDC revised that on the basis of 7 studies that were done. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about science. You keep running tests and finding new answers.
We just want to give Deb a chance to present an opposing view. And I can't read the whole thing because it's very long, but I will just say, she adds, ML, did you and Mrs. attend State with Whitmer? It seems state alums in general who control Michigan newsrooms, plus Tim Alberta at Politico, Heidi Prisbilla at MSNBC, carry water for her and refuse to even acknowledge she's shamelessly obsessed with becoming VP.
Did you?
I did go to Michigan State, not with Governor Whitmer. She's younger than I am, which is once again a reminder of what a failure I've been in my career. Kilpatrick was younger than me. Whitmer's younger than me. Matt Jennings, younger than me. Mark Fellhauer, younger than me.
Yeah, but none of us have
written
a book.
You know what's not younger than you? The Kwame Sutra.
It is younger than me, and we still have plenty available. It's been
around for thousands of years. That's
that's the Kama Sutra, but yes.
I know.
We appreciate the plug. By the way, since Sean insists on all this shameless commerce, you can get signed copies of the Kwame Sutra at drewandmikestore.com. We'll throw one in if you buy one of our hockey jerseys, which are now 20% off. Every Kwame Sutra is signed and has a smart aleck inscription. And while we make a joke about it, when you look at it, it really does remind you of what a liar this guy and the damage he did. And I was asked to do an audio recording for the Free Press talking a little bit about Kilpatrick. I looked at the timeline in the back of the Kwame Sutra to remind myself of the highs and lows of this guy's rise and fall. So there really is some value to that too. We also have sweet ass trucker hats inspired by Matt Jennings that will be available online. We will get those out to you just in time for Father's Day. They are going cheap, cheap, cheap. And we also have clocks, which are not cheap, but are so cool that my wife wants one so badly, she's going to get it to me for Father's Day. So I'm not sure if that's a gift for me or for her, but I think we'll have one somewhere in the house very soon. So please. And if you want to donate, I should mention we have had some very, very generous donors. Kristen was a great, kind donor to us this week. We had the Butchery made a very generous donation. Mike made a generous donation. We appreciate those gifts. They keep us going. They help us keep coming back. If you would like to donate, first you should probably call a mental health professional. But if not, Mark, what do they do?
mlsolodetroit.com. Hit the little donate button at the top. Very simple.
Did you see that, Mike? Did you see how he answered? Did you take notes?
Concisely, accurately, to the point.
Exactly, calm. He's very sexy because he's gotten his hair trimmed, I think, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
I think both of you
noticed he was not interrupted. That made it more efficient.
He didn't speak long enough to be interrupted.
Fair point. So I also forgot Bobby made us a generous donation as well. And Kristen, along with her donation, sent us a note. She says, thank you for putting out a great podcast. I wish I could send more, but I don't have a Pulitzer. Well, Kristen, what you sent was extremely generous. We appreciate any donation. There's a lot better causes out there you should give to first. But if you can't help yourself, we'll take it. And by the way, the Pulitzer, it came with a 6.5% pay cut.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'd have a 6.5% pay cut on that donation if she did.
They originally want to take 13%, so we counted ourselves lucky we got them down to that. Reminder, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. There's never a bad time to talk to someone if you're dealing with dark thoughts, just as there's never a bad time to reach out to someone who may be in pain. Take some time to be kind to yourself and to others. If you're feeling blue, there's someone you can talk to. Call 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. Please, if you're thinking of doing anything or you just need somebody to talk to, there are people who will listen. We'll listen. Leave us a voicemail. Send us an email. We try and get back to you quickly. Post on social media, ML Elric at Facebook, at Twitter. We would love to get back to you. And if we can help make this any easier, that's one of the reasons that we're here. So thank you. And we also should thank dealsinthed.com. Zot is back in business by appointment. They will service your car. They will sell you a car. Please reach out to them. And with all our sponsors, let them know that you heard about it, ML Soul of Detroit. We appreciate Zot. They employ a lot of people. They do a lot of business. They support us. We want to support them, and we hope that they can give you a good deal. Let Anthony Ketchum or Steve Gabbara know that you're looking for that special ML Soul of Detroit deal. I haven't cleared this with them, so I'm going a little bit out on a limb, but I think they're doing a buy one, get one free car deal. So let them know that you heard about that from Sean Windsor of Ann Arbor, the soul of Washtenaw County. So yeah. So boys, did I miss anything?
No, you got it all. And then some.
You did. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Maybe not too. There were some long stories. Hopefully they were well told. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you buying stuff. We appreciate you donating. But most of all, we appreciate you. We hope you're here next week. Please rate the show. Please subscribe to the show. Please share the show. And if you are listening, I guess there's no point in telling you don't get the full show on Facebook. But if you watch sometimes and don't listen all the time, if you want to get all of this, you got to listen. So please make sure to listen to the show and download. Please support the other Red Shovel Network shows. That's No Filter Sports with Eli, Denny, and Bob. No BS News Hour with Charlie LaDuff. And, of course, the big show, the Kahuna Grande, the Drew and Mike podcast. And Cami Soul, I should tell you before we go, if you want us to read a message on the air, just make a donation of $20 or more at Mark. How do they do that again? You're so efficient. Let's try it one more time.
Can't they just rewind in here? Oh, MLSoulofDetroit.com, little donate button. Once again, takes you to PayPal. Very simple.
You padded it out. I was trying to learn something from you. It looks like you picked up some bad habits from me. But yes, give us a message. We'll be happy to read it. And of course, we always like your feedback, which we will share with you as best we can. You have been listening to ML Soul of Detroit on the Red Shovel Network. Cyrus, mercifully, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Accidental explosion took the life of a fellow reporter, then supposedly
ML Elric
as well.
Mark Fellhauer
thinks the creature was responsible.
I gave a description to all the law enforcement agencies. They got a warrant for murder out of it.
A murder which
ML Elric
can never prove he or the creature didn't commit. So he must let the world go on thinking that he too is dead, until he can find a way to control the raging spirit that dwells within him.